boy, oh boy, oh boy. If it isn't the infamous CD Projekt Red back at it again. Now, CD Projekt Red, as everyone knows, in good old 2020, launched Cyberpunk 2077 to, we'll say, to be generous, mixed results. A lot of people praised the game's storyline and direction, along with its art style and general idea of world. The world concept was really good. The problem was the game was loaded with bugs, glitches, wasn't optimized, should never have been launched on last gen, and yeah, a whole bunch of bad shit about the game. There is no denying it. Cyberpunk 2077 did in fact have a broken launch. Now, personally, I still consider it one of the best stories. I'm not saying games. I'm not going to say games, although I like the game. I'll be honest, I do like the game. I am not going to say it is a good game. It's a fun story. It's a hell of a world. But man, does that gameplay fucking suck ass sometimes. And I'll be honest, even after beating the game, I think like 13 times now, I have done literally everything you can do in that game. I can say, I love the world. I love the items. I love the cars. I love the women. I love the men. Fuck yeah, I love the men. But it's just like, yeah, man, the gameplay itself, it's not the best. Now, as you can see, they are saying they are working on a sequel and a new IP, and we can only assume at some point in between this we're going to be getting another Witcher game. It doesn't say this in this article, but we have been getting articles saying that there could be a new Witcher game, along with the Cyberpunk sequel and new IP. Now listen, I don't really care much about the article here. I scrolled through it briefly. All this is saying is that they're planning a new IP in the Cyberpunk 2077 sequel. And that's all fine and good. I don't care if they do The Witcher. I don't care if they do Cyberpunk. They could do their new IP if they want. But my thing is, CD Projekt Red, listen, despite regaining much of their critical acclaim that they lost at Cyberpunk's launch, they have very much fixed the game. They have reclaimed their glory, their honor, their reputation, all that happy shit. In my eyes, CD Projekt Red is redeemed. They fixed the game. It's still not my favorite gameplay loop ever. It's not the best gameplay cycle in the world. But it's been refined to be bearable in combination with the story, if that makes any sense. You know, Cyberpunk 2077 now is in a good place, and even though the gameplay is not my favorite, it is 10 out of 10 times better than it was at launch, and has wholeheartedly improved the game. But I don't care what the project is, they need to slow down. They need to slow down. Right? Like, I don't care how much of your reputation you have reclaimed, the reality is you still launched a game that should not have been launched. And that's the truth of the matter. And now they're planning the sequel when it hasn't even been a full 5 years with the first game yet. We aren't even in year 3 yet, I don't think. We aren't even in year 3 of Cyberpunk yet, and they're already planning a sequel. Now, this isn't shocking. Every game launches with the intention of a sequel. Don't let them trick you up. I don't care what game we're talking about. We could be talking Halo. We could be talking Psychonauts. We could be talking Call of Duty. We could be talking fucking Monkey Ball, Super Monkey Ball. Anyone remember that series? Every game that launches post the year 2000, and I'll guarantee you this now, has the intention of a sequel. It does. Every game post 2000 that released, has an intention of a sequel. This isn't the pre-90s anymore where they're just launching new IPs and seeing what sticks. You know, every game is getting launched now with the intention of a sequel and a prequel. Like, let's not trip up here. And if Cyberpunk also gets a prequel with a sequel, that will be awesome. But my big thing is, I want you to look at Cyberpunk. That game had an 8-year development time, okay? 8-year development time. Mind you, for the first 4, it was more so on the back left burner. You know, it wasn't the most important food item. But Man, 8 years and we saw how that game launched. Now listen, mind you, with a sequel, they have a lot more resources to work with. They have a lot bigger pool. And it's a lot more refined. They have an actual world and a lot of stuff they can work with already. And developing a sequel would not be nearly as resource consuming as making the first game was, let's say. That's a fact. Once you make the first game, you already have a fuck ton of assets. You already have a world you can use. You already have a created storyline. All that's needed is expansion. You know, you can launch the same open game world in the same setting 25 times with the same map, and as so long as you're furthering the story, it can be good, it can be viable, and it can be fresh every single time. But this is not the Chivalry series, okay? This isn't GTA. You know, I want to be honest here. If I see a Cyberpunk sequel, I don't want to see reused assets. I don't want to see a reused Night City. Because that would just be one part of the Cyberpunk world that you're only exploring. And that's where the problem is I think CDPR has led themselves in. Like, you have established a literal world. I hope, and I know what you're probably saying, every game establishes world. Well, yeah, no shit. But they have literally established a whole planet here, right? Like, they are taking inspiration from the Cyberpunk board game. They have established lore from everywhere from America to Japan to Europe to Russia. You know, there's lore for almost every part of the world in-game already. You're making so many hints and teasers at different things. We can't even begin to identify where a sequel game would begin to take place at. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You have the whole, not just the United States, you have all of the Earth in this instance to work with. And we're not even going with a fantasy-esque Earth or a sci-fi Earth. You know, this is really just our planet as it is now, but thrown into a, what's the word, a schizophrenic-fueled future with a bunch of technology and cyberpsychosis. Like, you've basically taken our planet and are trying to emulate it. Where are you gonna go with that? Like, are you gonna make 230 some games till you cover every country on Earth? That's not gonna happen. There is just, like, the depth and the scale of the world Cyberpunk has just begun to make. It is way too fucking big already. It's just way too big already. I don't know where they're going to take it next. It's impossible to identify where it's going to take it next. And that's going to be the biggest problem with drumming up hype for a sequel. Because realistically, if we're going to have a sequel, yeah, Night City again would be cool. Or maybe for a prequel game, Night City again would be cool. But where are you going to go after Night City? That's what I'm saying. You can only have so many games in Night City with what they've established. You know, it would be one thing if this was a GTA game, a Battlefield game, a fucking Chivalry game. Chivalry 2 came out like half a year ago, or a full year ago now, I can't remember. But it's like, you can't just do it over again with what they've established. With what they've established, it's a whole planet. It's a whole universe. They've already shown us space colonies and space shit. Like, you have established, hell, more than a planet, you have established a solar system in this universe that you can go anywhere from. So I don't know how they're going to begin to drum up hype for a second game that we aren't even sure if it's going to be localized in the same area or not. Like, we're not even sure if it's going to be Night City. We're not sure if it's going to be, say, Los Angeles. We're not going to be sure if it's in fucking Pennsylvania. We're not going to be sure if it's in Canada. We're not going to be sure if it's in Puerto Rico. Right? Like, there's nowhere you can directly lead from Cyberpunk as is now with a sequel game. With what they've established. There's just too much. And let's say they wanted to focus on V again, which is probably what you've been screaming this whole time. How is focusing on V gonna work? Where there are 5 different endings for this character. And a lot of them depend on what beginning you took too. Right? Like, what are you gonna do? And I know the beginning doesn't matter so much for the ending. It's more so just a flavor thing. It's like, oh, Street Punk V ended here started here and ended there. Right? Like, he went from street kid to corporation, or you go from nomad to street kid or corporation to street kid, right? Like, that's the whole big story. It's you starting from one place and then going down the other life paths, basically. But there are 5 different endings. There's the devil ending. There's the ending where you go with Arasaka. There is the ending where you just say fuck it and leave. There is the ending where Johnny takes over your body. There is the ending where you don't get a cure at all. And there even is purportedly a hidden ending where you go off and hopefully get a cure with the nomads. That's another ending. And that's not even confirmed. So this game also... Oh yeah, by the way, there's one where you go up into space. I almost forgot about that. That's the ending I got on my first playthrough. But it's just... Where are they going to go? Where are they going to go that's going to be able to directly connect with the previous Cyberpunk game? It's what I'm trying to say. This has been Johnny Van Duke scrolling up and down through an article while ranting. I hope you enjoyed this, but man, I would be lying if I said I wasn't hyped. But at the same time, CD Projekt Red needs to slow down and they need to get their fucking shit together, because with how the lore of Cyberpunk is now, mind you, there's a full DLC coming out that could fix this problem. If the new DLC fixes this problem, I will make an update video to this. But with the way Cyberpunk is now, I do not see a sequel being viable. It's just not viable. Right? They would be better off almost starting from scratch and making a spin-off game, in my opinion. But we'll get there when we get there. Anyway, guys, I have been Johnny Von Duke. No face cam tonight because this is kind of a easy, lazy video to do. And I hope you got lots of cheese, because that's what this sequel is going to be.